The purpose of this presentation is to discuss the differences and the similarities between the old SAT, which is the test that was administered from 2005 to 2015, and the new SAT, or the test administered by College Board from 2016 onward. Let's talk about the types of changes that the College Board instituted. That way you can understand exactly what's going on with the new SAT, which a lot of people don't quite understand yet. The types of changes fall into a few different categories. There are some changes to the score range and the scoring method. There are some changes to test format and the availability of the test. There are some changes to the use of calculators on math and to the mathematics topics that are tested, as well as to reading, vocabulary, and data and text analysis. And there are certain types of changes that affect the purpose and the style of the essay. So let's get into these. Now, the old SAT was scored out of 2,400 points. There were 3 categories of questions: reading comprehension, math, and writing, and each section was worth 800 points, with a total possible score of 2,400 points once the scores from each section were combined. Beginning in spring 2016, the SAT is scored out of 1,600 total points, with a separate score for the essay portion. There are only 2 sections on the test now: math and evidence-based reading and writing, both worth 800 points, and adding the score from both of those sections together gives the total score out of 1,600 points. The old SAT awarded 1 point for each correct answer, 0 points for each question left blank, and deducted 1/4 of a point for each incorrect answer. Beginning in 2016, the SAT is only scored based on right answers. Incorrect answers are not penalized. Test takers should fill in every bubble, even if they do not know the correct answer. One other change to the scoring method is that the SAT has gone from 5 possible answer choices for the multiple choice questions to 4, which means students have an increased chance of guessing the correct answer if they're guessing without knowing what the actual answer is. The old SAT was available to students only in a paper test format. Beginning in spring 2016, the SAT is available as a traditional paper test as well as in digital form. As far as calculator use is concerned, the old SAT allowed students to use non-graphing calculators at any point in the math portion of the test. Beginning in spring 2016, the SAT allows non-graphing calculators on all math except for in a new 20-question no calculator section of the math portion, which is also a student-produced answer section. So instead of choosing answers from multiple choice options, students need to grid in their own answers on the test. The old SAT tested a broad variety of topics related to high school mathematics, with many of those topics only covered in a few questions. Now, beginning in spring 2016, the SAT tests fewer math subjects, but goes into greater detail on those subjects. It emphasizes college readiness in algebra, data analysis, and geometry, and basic trigonometry has also been added to the new SAT. The old SAT drew reading passages from a wide range of topics and subject areas. Students were not guaranteed any specific topic or passage source, and answers did not need to be supported. Beginning in spring of 2016, the SAT provides passages from 4 specific areas. They will see 3 long passages and 1 pair of short passages covering the following categories: U.S. and world literature, history and social studies, science, and United States founding documents or the Great Global Conversation, which includes culturally important works that deal with civil and political life. For instance, Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. For a few of the questions, students will need to analyze charts or graphs in order to answer correctly, and for a few of the questions, students will need to both answer a multiple choice question and then answer another question asking which portion of the text the student got their answer from. The old SAT tested vocabulary that allegedly had little utility, including arcane words, jargon, and words that are not in common use. Beginning in 2016, the SAT tests words used in college and career contexts, especially those that can vary in meaning, such as synthesis and empirical. The old SAT did not require students to analyze graphs or charts. Passages rarely required students to read text and analyze data in topics like science or social studies. But beginning in spring of 2016, the SAT provides questions that require students to read text, analyze data, and support their answers in topics with real-world applications. So students need to be able to read text and complete that text with additional information from charts or graphs in order to answer questions on the new SAT. The old SAT required students to write a 25-minute opinion essay based on their knowledge and experience in answer to a question. Essay topics did not include source material or factual information. Beginning in spring 2016, the SAT essay portion is optional, and it lasts 50 minutes. It requires students to read an argument and analyze that argument without giving their opinion about it. They're scored in 3 categories: how well they understand the argument, how well they analyze the argument and explain exactly what the argument is and how the author expresses it, and their overall writing style. In conclusion, the new SAT aims for more focused testing on college readiness aspects of vocabulary and math, and returns to a 1,600-point grading scale. Overall, it requires students to implement a greater analytical skill set throughout each section. Now that you know a little bit more about the new SAT, it's time to get started preparing for it, or figure out the differences between the SAT and the ACT. Whatever test you choose, good luck and happy studying.